शाहिद कपूर जैसे एक्टर को रीमेक नहीं करना चाहिए. He's such an original actor. He should pick some. That's what I also used to tell him so many times.
The one thing I do tell my team now is that, maybe I should not be deciding on my scripts. Maybe I don't know exactly which film to choose or my criteria to choose.
Shahid Kapoor just told us that he now reads scripts with his entire team by his side. A new process, a new course correction. And honestly, this is good because believe me when I say this, what Cocktail 2 did to his brand was a systematic dismantling of everything that made audiences trust him.
मेरा नहीं कोहिनूर हूँ, इतना आसान नहीं है मुझे खरीद.
He's easily one of the best actors we have right now, but his career feels stuck. You watch him act and the skill is obvious. Then you look at his scripts, you look at the box office numbers, something is broken. What exactly is the Shahid Kapoor problem and what he can do to actually fix it?
Oh, Uncle Ji, थोड़ा दिमाग थोड़ी कीटिया विच है क्या? I'm a bloody surgeon. कोई roadside रोमिया नहीं है मैं.
To really understand what went wrong, you have to look at Shahid Kapoor's career graph of box office numbers. There are extreme highs followed by totally confusing lows. He found quick success with his debut in Ishq Vishk, but right after that, his chart completely tanked with a string of forgettable films. Then out of nowhere, Viva and Jab We Met brought him right back into the game. This pattern kept repeating for over a decade. He would deliver a critical masterpiece like Kamine or a mass hit like R. Rajkumar, then he would follow them up with major commercial disasters. His box office line was constantly spiking and crashing. Then came Padmavat, which to be honest was a bittersweet experience for the actor, especially when it came to movie promotions and screen presence.
Is about Padmavat, the fact that you felt slightly, shortchanged in that film.
I don't want to get into the details.
Cam lesser, मुझे ऐसा महसूस कराया गया. As an artist, मुझे ऐसा situation में डाला गया कि मुझे ये feel हो कि मैं कम हूँ और ये मैं कभी accept नहीं करूँ.
But I did feel at times I was like, why did I do this film? I felt like that, yes.
And then came Kabir Singh, which changed everything for the actor and gave him his career's highest box office grosser, 380 crore rupees. That number deserves a pause.
Not a rebel without a cause, sir. Not a murderer with a hand blade. कल इसी time college छोड़ दूँगा.
For an actor who spent 15 years dealing with a highly volatile career graph, that kind of massive number does something to your mindset. It makes you feel like you have finally cracked the secret code to ultimate stardom. You get terrified of letting it go. You look back at all those years of dipping numbers and you decide you are never going to go back to that insecure place again. That fear is exactly how the trouble started. He became completely obsessed with holding on to that specific and aggressive energy. He looked at the box office curve and decided that anger equals money. He started chasing that same intense look in almost every project that came his way. We saw him try to recreate that dark edge in Bloody Daddy. We saw it in Deva, we saw it again in O Romeo. The problem is very simple. Kabir Singh worked because the whole story was built around that one toxic guy. The plot needed him to be completely unhinged. When you try to bring that same brooding face into a different movie, it feels fake. It feels like an actor trying way too hard to look tough. And the massive drop after Kabir Singh proves it. Jersey crashed completely, Deva and O Romeo failed to capture a massive audience, and to be fair, it's not all because of Shahid Kapoor. He is after all a director's actor, but before that, he is an actor who decides on the characters he wants to play, which leads us to the scripts he chooses.
Might be driven by a very pure artistic instinct, and that might not always land for me. So I actually now insist on doing narrations not alone.
Chapter 2, Choosing Gloss Over Substance. Shahid keeps falling for the illusion of scale, and the recent release Cocktail 2 proves it. The movie had a massive budget of 150 crore rupees. They flew the entire crew to Sicily to shoot it. They hired Kirti Sanon and Rashmika Mandana. They bought the most expensive clothes. They built the most beautiful sets. The trailers looked incredibly rich and vibrant. Now notice that with all of that investment, the movie had absolutely zero soul. It felt like watching a very long fashion commercial. It lacked the basic human heartbeat and the audience saw right through it. They called it a plastic nightmare, a bad story which cannot be fixed with foreign locations and a good background score. When you look at the movie, you wonder why Shahid signed it. Maybe because it's the same Maddox Films which gave him his only hit since Kabir Singh, and that might be a problem as well. You see, when a big producer walks into the room and talks about massive budgets, franchise value, it's natural for an actor who is struggling at the box office to get excited by the sheer scale of it. He says yes and forgets to ask the most basic questions like, who is this guy? What does he want? What is the actual point of this movie? We have seen this exact pattern before. He does a massive movie that looks great on paper but fails in the theater. He relies too heavily on the production house to save the film. He thinks a big banner guarantees a box office hit. That is a very old way of thinking. Audiences today do not care about the budget, they care about the feeling. They want to be moved, they want to feel something real when they watch a film. Cocktail 2 is the perfect example of this trap. The core premise was completely absurd. The situations felt incredibly forced. The dialogue was unnatural and stiff because honestly, no amount of good lighting can save a scene when the characters are saying stupid things. The director told him to play it in a certain way and he just went along with it and stopped fighting for the honesty of the scene. Even in movies like Oh Romeo, the styling took precedence over the substance. He spent more time looking cool holding a weapon than building a believable character. The tattoos and the slick hair became more important than the dialogue. The audience gets tired of watching a fashion show disguised as an action thriller. They want grit and dirt and messy human emotions. They do not want perfectly choreographed scenes that look like music videos. He keeps picking projects that prioritize the visual aesthetic over the emotional core. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes a movie successful. This brings us to the relatability gap. How do you lose touch with the people who made you a star? There was a time when Shahid felt like a guy you actually knew. You could see pieces of your own life in his performances. He played guys with regular jobs, he played guys dealing with regular heartbreak. He was the boy next door. That relatability is exactly what made millions of people fall in love with him. He has completely abandoned that space. He built a giant wall between himself and the audience. His recent characters do not live in our world. They live in strange and heightened movie universes. They're either super violent cops shooting up the city or they are incredibly rich guys crying in Italian villas. There is no middle ground anymore. You look at the actors who are winning right now, they play everyday people. They face everyday struggles. Audiences buy tickets to see themselves on the screen. They want to connect with the fear and the joy of the protagonist. They cannot connect with a guy who feels totally plastic and manufactured in a studio. In Cocktail 2, he plays a guy in a bizarre love triangle. The conversations did not sound like anything real people would say. The audience watched it and felt nothing. You cannot cheer for a character when you do not understand his reality. We want to see him struggle. We want to see him fail and get back up. We do not want to see him perfectly styled in every single frame of the film. The distance between him and the audience is growing every single year, and it is very easy to lose touch with reality when everyone constantly agrees with you. If he does not close the gap soon, they will stop showing up entirely. Think about his early work. The charm came from his awkwardness. It came from the way he stumbled over his words or looked unsure of himself. That insecurity made him entirely human. Today, his characters never look unsure. They are overly confident and completely detached from the daily grind of survival. They do not worry about paying rent or keeping a job. They exist purely to look impressive. When an actor stops playing the struggles of common people, the common people stop buying tickets to see him. In simpler terms, audiences want to look at the screen and see themselves, not a fantasy they cannot relate to. When was the last time you watched a Shahid film and thought, that is exactly how I feel? Bringing us to the problem of the franchise trap. Shahid has developed a very concerning habit over the last few years. He constantly relies on pre-tested material. He looks for films that already have proven and made money somewhere else. Pay attention to what comes next because this list is not a coincidence. Kabir Singh was a direct remake of Arjun Reddy. Jersey was a remake of a Telugu film. Bloody Daddy was a direct adaptation. Deva was a remake of the Malayalam movie Mumbai Police. Now he gave us Cocktail 2. It is a spiritual sequel to a movie from over a decade ago. The pattern is completely obvious to everyone. He does not trust original Hindi scripts. This total lack of confidence is hurting his legacy. When you do a remake, you invite constant comparison. The audience already knows the beats of the story. They are just watching to see if you can do it as well as the first guy did it. It removes the element of surprise. The magic of cinema is not knowing what happens next. It steals that magic from its own audience. When you do a sequel like Cocktail 2, you are fighting against nostalgia. The first Cocktail had an incredible soundtrack. It had a very specific energy for that time in history. You cannot recreate that in a lab. The studio definitely tried to force it. They slapped the name on a new movie just to sell tickets. They treated the audience like a guaranteed cash register. Audiences are way too smart for that game now. They can smell a corporate cash grab from a mile away. They know when a movie exists only because a producer owns the title rights. They want fresh stories. They want directors who take big swings with brand new ideas. He's playing it way too safe right now. Playing it safe is the fastest way to become irrelevant. The actors who define a generation are the ones who jump without a parachute. The audience is totally exhausted by the endless loop of sequels and remakes. They are rejecting this safe approach entirely. They want a unique cinematic experience. They do not want to be warmed over leftovers from another language industry. His reliance on these safety nets shows a massive lack of creative hunger. He is letting studio executives make his choices based on past spreadsheets. Cinema is not an accounting exercise. It is about taking a leap of faith. By refusing to take that leap, he's trapping himself in a cycle of mediocrity. This obsession with staying in a safe and familiar zone goes beyond his script choices. It bleeds right into how he presents himself on camera. He refuses to leave the comfort of his past hits. He also absolutely refuses to leave his youth behind, which brings us to the final problem and the most concerning one, the fear of aging up. Why does a veteran actor still pretend to be a confused college kid? Shahid has been working in this industry for over 2 decades. He is in his mid-40s. He has a massive experience and a deep understanding of the craft. Yet, he still tries to play the young romantic lead. He tries to play the guy who is just figuring out life and love. It creates a massive disconnect on screen. You watch Cocktail 2 and it just feels awkward. The audience grew up right alongside him. We want to see him change too. We want to see him take on mature roles that match his actual stage in life. There is this trend in Indian cinema where actors over 50 want to continue playing romantic leads, but that doesn't work anymore because the audience are more aware than ever, especially when it comes to the rom-com genre. Trying to freeze time never works, which is why this Peter Pan routine is getting very tired. The audience does not care about a fabricated love triangle in Sicily anymore. They care about the real and heavy struggles of getting older. When an actor refuses to age on screen, they become a caricature of themselves. They get stuck playing the same boyish routines while their peers move on to playing complex men. And all these problems have been with Shahid throughout his career and contributed to the highs and lows. Bringing us to the solution, what can he do? The path forward is very clear. Shahid needs a hard and complete reset. He has to strip everything down to the absolute basics and rebuild his process from the ground up. First, he has to drop the angry persona completely. No more brooding cops, no more toxic lovers, no more excessive violence just for the sake of looking tough. He has to let go of the Kabir Singh hangover right now. Second, he has to take a long break from the massive budget projects. The 100 crore club is a trap. It forces you to make safe and boring choices. He should call directors who focus purely on human drama. He should do a movie with a small budget where the entire focus is on the performance. This will remind the audience why they fell in love with his acting in the first place. Third, he must trust original Hindi writers. He needs to stop doing spiritual sequels to movies from a decade ago. He should read fresh scripts from unknown writers. He needs to find a story that has never been told before. He has to bet on a new idea even if it scares him. The audience rewards bravery and they punish laziness. Fourth, he has to embrace the actual age. The audience wants to see him tackle the heavy realities of life. Age brings incredible depth to a performance. He needs to use that depth instead of hiding it behind hair dye and gym routines. Finally, he has to close the relatability gap. He needs to remember what it feels like to be normal. He should play a guy who worries about paying his rent or getting passed over for a promotion. He needs to show vulnerability and weakness. The raw talent is completely unquestionable. He's still one of the best actors in the country. If he stops chasing numbers and starts chasing great stories like the Fuzzy TV show, no one can stop him. The comeback is always better than the setback.
You're goddamn right.
That is my take on the Shahid Kapoor problem and what the actor can actually do to address it. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think is the problem and how can this talented actor fix it? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already and check out our latest video on Ramayan's 4,000 crore budget right here. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.